Hello, everyone. Merrill Williams again on the matter of Legionnaire's disease, and I'm just fascinated by the lawyers who come to us with a bit of the spellbinding news that they have come up with a reason to sue somebody. And in Legionnaire's disease, one of the litigious fellows named Jules Zacher is maintaining a posture that it's all the doctor's fault. Hey, wait, homo. Hey, come on. The point of Legionnaire's disease, it's not about bacteria. I mean, this guy's even getting into, he's got to, if you're going to sue somebody, stop suing the lawyer, the people who are trying to figure out, which is basically a treatment. And this fellow is so absurdly convinced that it's a bacteria. Someone convinced him that it was the case. Of course, he's been convinced by the CDC, and as I said, often the case, this is so infrequent. You would have to have your body, and then you would have to be able to examine the way the lungs look in order to say, okay, it's not just a common pneumonia. It's basic. Go back to 1976. Where were these diseases before? Why did we get so corrupted by the idea that this is a bacteria? We got corrupted because, one, you didn't want to associate the main exponent of this, which was Freon, in the environment, which is still probably likely being continued by the tobacco industry and other industries, perhaps by the same token, using the same process of freezing something in order to produce this freeze-dried effect, and then chop it up into a product. In the destruction of the ozone layer, there's a very consistent element. Now, why does Jules Zacher want to pick on the doctors? The doctors haven't got a clue to begin with. They're going to treat what seems to be a lung disease, and it is, but it's caused by Freon in contact with the right conditions. The expellation, what's the best term to expel hundreds of thousands of pounds of Freon into an environment and into the moist environment, and to condition this. This is found in certain areas because the conditions are right. It's amazing how one lawyer who has a business and he's making a living off of doctors who are probably doing the best they can to determine what they've been studying for years and haven't been told the truth. The CDC knew the truth in 1976, and I keep telling you, this is what was the truth, that the elements were the same as phosgene gas. You have a system that particularly is used by the tobacco industry. It's been used for years, since 1963, which has two components to it. One, the destruction of the ozone layer, which the Freon, either the old or the new, is going to do. Lesser with the new, but this is not like having all the cattle in Brazil emitting methane gas at the same time. They do it on these little stacks and create the same thing in a different way, but it's not like the lawyers have it right. They never do anyway. The lawyers are the most corrupt at the practice of deceit in terms of grabbing hold of a medical doctor and saying, oh, you didn't do your job right, you let someone go without diagnosing this disease. Well, you don't even know what you're talking about. You're Mr. Jules Zacher, who is a specialist in raping an industry of the health community. The doctors are doing their job. The problem is that the CDC in 1976 did their job in protecting DuPont, in protecting the tobacco industry, and protecting the fact merit cigarettes were being introduced, a product of expanded tobacco, which liberates freon into the environment. That's the skinny on it. It's a particular kind of lung damage, which is like a Brillo pad, burning of the lungs. It looks like a Brillo pad. So don't blame the doctors. Go find the tobacco companies and determine how the distillery perhaps is related, perhaps to the moisture and the heat and the coke catalyst, whatever that might be, and stop figuring out it's coming off of somebody's little bit of the planet's waterways, and it's so infrequent. I'm sure that a lawyer can make a bunch of money off of a poor doctor doing his job. So, Jules, you are an idiot. You're a total idiot. You have nothing but corruption in your mind. You're much like the tobacco companies yourself. Why don't you pick on the proper people? Go pick on the tobacco industry, not on the industry that produces the freon. The freon's still out there. It's being distributed. It's not something that the people who deal with air conditioning, by the way, are ignorant of. They know this. They're very familiar with this. So Mr. Jules Zacher, Z-A-C-H-E-R, comes on the YouTube and tells you, well, if you got a problem with this Legionnaire's disease, I'm a real specialist, and I can tell you that bacteria is really going to get you. And, we really have a wonderful way of treating you. If they mistreat you, the medical doctors mistreat you. Medical doctors don't know any more than the people in Edinburgh or the people who were making up the stories of the CDC. And Legionnaire's disease was first discovered in 1976. Give me a break. Come on. Really? You idiots. You're nothing but, you can't come to the conclusions that this is a bacteria when you only have a couple of incidents and outbreaks. You can't come to these conclusions, and you can't keep Jules Zacher in the big time as the rainmaker industry that he has, developing the bacteria theory. It's not so. It doesn't have anything to do with bacteria. It has to do with phosgene gas, the same thing that was used during World War I. I'm amazed. You can't come up with the same content, the same figures. You know, I spent a lot of time trying to find the truth to what Freon meant. It was there in front of me for 4.25 years as a tobacco analyst. I'm looking at this and say, it's got to mean something. Just by luck, I happened to get the box that contained the mystery and the answer. You know, essentially, it was confirmed. And then the hearings, a big cover-up in 1977. Look, we have a reason. Why doesn't this happen a lot? Why do we have just infrequent incidents? How can we keep Jules Zacher in the money? You know, he's out there pretending that he's going to get a doctor's money, put him on a medical malpractice issue, and it's not his fault. Be glad to testify on that issue. You just look up some of the paperwork in California, and you'll find under Legionnaire's disease, there's an answer here. There's an answer that you simply have to take into consideration, and keep these dirty lawyers away from the medical profession. The filthy, dirty, inconsiderate lawyers taking advantage of poor doctors who actually are trying to help. Of course, you got the symptoms of pneumonia. You can treat it with erythromycin and other bacteria, and you could do the same thing during World War I if you had antibiotics. But you know, I keep wondering about how elementary the facts are, and you keep coming to the same foolish conclusions, and all you have to do is read a little bit more. It took me 4 years, and I just got lucky. I came across the box that contained the information of Lieutenant Commander Labangi and the hearings, and what was about the truth, the truth about the coke catalyst, the moist environment, the heat, in excess of, and the truth is that there's freon is in tobacco products. I'm not saying that tobacco products actually cause this. They certainly, you know, but if you think you've got an issue here with somebody, don't pick on the doctors. The doctors really didn't create this disease, and if they don't recognize the disease, it's because it's very simple. You can't recognize it either, and what you're doing is Jules Zacher, Legionnaire's disease litigation. You know what you're doing is foolish. Of course, it's not foolish to you because you're making a nice living on you driving your Bentley and your airplane and all of this. I hope the hell you sue me, because I'd love to appear before you and say something about how you practice your business. First of all, you're a vulture and you're wrong. It's not the doctor's fault that they don't recognize Legionnaire's disease. You got a whole bunch of people in Scotland right now who are down with the phosgene gas that someone has perpetuated. Remember, it's the G13 process. It's one part of it, and it has to do with the medical community about as much as it has to do with the religious section of Nigeria or somewhere. I have no idea what you're after except money. It's not the doctor's fault. It certainly isn't. But it is the fault of the people who simply pledge and come up with conclusions that are absolutely silly, such as one man calling, well, the Legionnaire's disease had 14 victims. A couple of them died. That's ridiculous. There were 2,000 people there. And how interesting it is that we really don't have many occasions. Cruise ships, places like moist environment, this distillery issue, you know, Jules Zacher, find yourself a creepy little hole. Maybe you can go over there and get it yourself. I just hate you. I despise the idea that you have to practice something like this and take advantage of doctors. And your theory is wrong. Your theory is absolutely wrong. It's not bacteria. It's phosgene gas. Okay. Tip to you, Dr. Mr. Jules Zacher, litigious. Legionnaires of these litigation. Oh, yeah.